I think I have a small cameo appearance today. I know you're having an active, detailed discussion, and I was asked to join briefly as one of the signatories of a letter sent by 230 academics, mainly law professors and trade specialists and economists to President Trump, calling for the removal of ISDS from NAFTA. And I'm a strong supporter of that proposition and a proud signatory to this letter. This is a follow-up to a letter that was sent last year on a similar theme, but with regard to TPP and TTIP, where, again, there's a very broad and very interesting consensus across the political spectrum, really from the free market right to the pretty anti-trade interventionist left. It's a quite wide spectrum that this process of ISDS, which is now deeply embedded not only in NAFTA but in countless other bilateral and multilateral investment treaties, isn't working. And it's a threat. It's a threat to the legal order. It's a threat to American sovereignty and indeed to the sovereignty of any of the countries that have adopted this arbitration process. The letter summarizes the strong consensus that is felt by all of the signatories that ISDS fails on matters of basic rule of law, basic due process, basic rights to be heard. It circumvents the not only the legislative process, but also the judicial process in the countries engaged. The standards for the arbitrations are very weak from a juridical point of view, in terms of access, in terms of in terms of ability of parties to intervene, in terms of guidance under national law, in terms of standards and procedures for the management of the arbitration and the basis for decisions. And of course, this has become big business in recent years. ISDS was not really so much noticed and not even so much used in its early years, but now it is seen as a major corporate management tool. So the number of cases under ISDS is soaring. The financing of those cases through third parties, hedge funds, and others is rising. The use of ISDS to manipulate legal processes, to scare governments, to threaten governments is on the rise. The number of bad arbitrary decisions is definitely growing. And for many of us, we feel a lot of alarm in this process. I'm gratified that ISDS has become recognized not as an obscure feature of agreements like NAFTA, but really as a central part of these agreements and a central risk and danger to these agreements. And I think that that's the gist of the letter from the 230 faculty that have signed on to the letter to President Trump. My feeling is that given that we represent, and you on the head table represent, a very wide spectrum of substantive views on questions of trade and investment and economic management, we have a lot of credibility that we're joining forces together across normal ideological divides to say this is bad, it's not working, and indeed it's getting out of control. So those are the brief remarks that I wanted to add to the discussion.